of Cerberus whiskers, 4 teeth of troglodyte, the mucous of a rock, and the mere wings of one dragonfly. Ye gods! No! Wrong again! Oh, I did not see you there. How long have you been lurking in the shadows? This here? Oh, this is nothing. Merely my dinner after today's tale. I was certainly not trying to make a new form of predator to rid me of all morning roosters. Why don't they shut up? Where the hell did the myth of them crowing in the morning come from anyway? They do it all day long. Do not give me that look. It does not even matter, as you can probably tell from the rainbow mixture on my face that it didn't work. I was sure that quantities were correct. Or perhaps the combinations were incompatible. I need to find the answer to the past so I can better conjure my perfect... I mean, let us hear the tale of the day and let not look into any deeper into my prototyping. Throwing the egg of a bugbear into the smoking cauldron, a window will appear so we can lean from Ramble Shamble.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ramble Shamble. I am joined by the fabulous Jotun. Say hello, Jotun.
Hello.
It is great for you to be here in this wonderful world of Ramble Shamble. We are progressing quite far into the series of podcasting, which I feel we're getting better. Look, there always be the little stumbles there and there, but all in all, I feel like we're getting better. I do most of the edits for Ramble Shamble, but our fabulous Jotun does most of the edits, or he does all the edits for Ramble Shrapnel. Don't you, Jotun?
Wait. Before you go further, what would Ramble Stumble be?
I don't know. What would Ramble Stumble be?
Ramble Stumble would be like our musical or our opera series.
Okay,
we have to like speak and walk at the same time, or speak and run at the same time.
Well, we can definitely look at that. Is that part of the recording itself, or you
Yeah.
Jeez, imagine that.
You're the one that said the word stumble.
Did I say stumble? I'm pretty sure I said Ramble Shamble and Ramble Shrapnel.
You should see. You said stumbling somewhere.
I don't know. Maybe the audience needs to tell me where. Don't you, audience? But yes, either way, if I said Ramble Shrapnel or Ramble Stumble, or I will stick to Ramble Stumble in this case.
No, you never said it like that. You said that you said something like where we talk or where we stumble around or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yes, I definitely said stumble around. Well, that actually makes sense now. Now I feel like we are way off the topic. But yes.
Reciting poetry while running.
I'm pretty sure the audience is so confused. Like, what did they just click on here? These random guys are talking about stumble. What's up with stumble? But yes, sorry about that, audience. Or if you enjoyed that, I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yes, briefly, just getting it out of the way, guys. If you don't know, we are streaming these podcasts. Or not streaming, but we do send out these podcasts to pretty much all podcasting platforms, including Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a number of other sources. We do try to share these episodes on Rumble as well, in case YouTube does not necessarily share our episodes there. But the best way to communicate to us is through our Discord. Again, you can easily find it on a simple Google search, or find it in the link of description on our YouTube channel, which is Ramble Shamble, not Ramble Stumble. So please don't get confused. And in that Discord, you can chat to us, share game ideas, play some games with us, share topic ideas, maybe join us in a podcast episode. But the most important of it is our Ramble Shrapnel, which I did kind of touch on briefly, but Jotun's the best person to describe what this is.
So, with Ramble Shrapnel, we take your guys' feedback, either from the comments or from our various social media, including Discord, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we choose our favorite response from the questions that we asked you inside of the main episodes, and we talk about that for a little bit. So, depending on whether we actually like what you guys are saying, we might or we might not actually speak about that. You know, sometimes we just like to speak about what we feel like, because it's all about us and our opinions. But otherwise, you guys can just upvote an answer from the community enough, and then we'll be forced. Like, we can't go against you guys in that case. So then we'll be forced to talk about whatever the heck you guys decided to suggest. And so, yeah, those suggestions become little shards of Ramble Shrapnel, and we talk about your idea.
Great. So, Jotun, you speak about Ramble Shrapnel. So, what is your experience? Because I know you're a little bit newer than I am. Well, I actually don't think you're newer. I think you're actually a lot more experienced than I am in editing a Shrapnel episode. Do you have any gripes regarding our recordings or anything that you say, man, only if we did something better?
What irritates me the most that there seems to be some audio feedback or something coming from my mic specifically, which sounds like a little snapping sound, and it just shows up randomly inside of the recording. So I have to painstakingly sift through the entire recording to get rid of that stuff. And my mic picks up the sound of me enunciating. Like, for anybody that knows anatomy, it's kind of like the sound of my epiglottis or my phalanx lifting from my soft palate or something, and it sounds weird. But then again, I did also listen to some other podcasts, and it happens with theirs as well. So
true.
I'm giving that less attention now, and just focusing on what we're actually saying and augmenting the general experience of that, instead of being nitpicky about all these little slapping noises that softly come in every now and then.
It's so true. Now that we post a little more regularly on YouTube, that kind of thing, I initially, when I also was starting my editings, I was thinking, man, these things are so annoying. Jeez. But unless you are specifically used to hearing these sounds or these items, you won't necessarily take account of it. Maybe people with these super enhanced headphones will be able to hear every breath that we make and every sound that we make. It's probably fine for most of the general audience. But I think that's enough diversion to the main topic. Jotun, this episode, which I have discussed with you, is going to be a different episode. It's going to be more of an epic episode. It's an episode where we make the ultimate predator. The ultimate organic predator, actually. So, Jotun and I, audience, if you're not aware...
I've got a cyborg.
You could go cyborg, but we're going to be genetic modifiers. So, Jotun and I have been playing a game called Alien... Is it Alien Isolation? I forget. Alien Fire Team.
Aliens Fire Team Elite.
Yes. And that game inspired me to think of, so these things are genetic modifications of obviously the people that come out of them. But say that myself, Mackie, and Jotun, in two different alternate universes where we're both mad scientists who are in the process of making the perfect predator. Like Cell from Dragon Ball Z, if you want to get all nerdy on me. We are basically making the ultimate predator. And audience, we're going to make this a bit more of a gambling kind of game, a game of poker, that Jotun has described this before, where the opposing person needs to, obviously, with their presented predator, needs to kind of the opposing. So basically, myself, Mackie, would be opposing Jotun, and Jotun will pick up debuffs for my predator, while I picked up debuffs for his predator. While we are both adding our own buffs or attributes or strengths to our creature. So basically, what makes it part of the gambling part is that myself, Mackie, can stop whenever I think that the debuffs are going to overwhelm the strength of this predator. And at that point, it will be up to the audience to decide which predator's the better predator from the debuffs and buffs that we have discussed in this episode. So this might be a bit of a longer episode that audience might not be too accustomed with, but we'll make sure to make this interesting. I love this idea. So what do you think of this, Jotun? Do you like this idea?
I do, because it forces you to have to deal with problems as well. And because we have the apex predator in mind for let's call it the character build or the monster build that we're making, like there will come a point where we have to decide, is my creature strong enough now to be able to handle another debuff?
Oh, 100%.
And that's where the gambling aspect of it comes, because there could be a minor debuff up next, or there could be like a really, really bad one that would turn your so-called predator into a mewling cat or a mewling child. So yeah, we gotta see, man. It all depends on what the debuffs are.
And to make it interesting, guys, we're going to start with a debuff. So we're going to go debuff, then buff. Then it's going to be the other person's side. So it's not just Jotun going through this entire list. Or would you rather we go
start with body type, then
Agreed.
debuff.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. Little bit of hope at the very end of having a very last. If you can go to the end, then you don't get a debuff at the end, because we've got 5 of each.
100%. And again, we will probably name our creature at the very end, because we probably have a name in mind, but I think based on what our creature ends up becoming, it might be changing to something a bit more subtle. But again, we're gonna start with body. I agree with that, and then we're gonna go debuff, buff for one side, and then we go to the other side, debuff, buff. So then we can kind of judge where we're currently sitting on, saying, do we need to gamble with that extra debuff and get another buff of our choosing? But the debuff will be picked at random. We have a little dice simulator, and based on that number that we roll on this dice, the opposing side will tell us the debuff that we have just gained for our creature, to add a bit of genetic randomness, because we're mixing all these chemicals, we're splicing all these DNAs together, and we don't know what's going to come out of it. We just want to make the ultimate predator here. We don't care about outcome. So without further ado, Jotun, do you want to start with body, or should I start with the body? We'll keep this brief. Again, we have the buffs and strengths coming afterwards.
I think you can start.
Okay, brilliant.
Oh, I do have one question before we commence.
Go ahead.
So that is that for the attributes now, do we get to say, like, I don't know, chameleon DNA, and then get to choose the parts of a chameleon's DNA, like their physiognomy and physiology that we would like to have for the predator, and that counts as one attribute? Or is it like just their camouflage, or just their sticky fingers?
Just their camouflage, just their sticky fingers. So as much as so it's basically picking the best attribute from a chameleon. So from you, it could be their shotgun tongue that can extend out and bring back in. That could be one of or their eyes that can look in all different directions at pretty much the same time. That could be another way. So you're picking one of those specific attributes, if you were to pick a chameleon as an example. But thank you for clarifying that, so the audience can also maybe play along. Maybe they do their own way, or maybe they want to discuss their own versions of the ultimate predator with debuffs. So, okay, the body type that I have decided for my creature to start off with, again, this will change but depending on the debuffs that we decide to give them, is ape body. So a gorilla ape, or a chimpanzee. The reason why I've decided to go for this type of body structure is for one of the things is it's opposable fingers, so they have hands, as well as they have the option of running on all fours, or they can stand on their hind legs. So that's the body shape that I'm kind of going for. So it's quite a nice initial clay block that I have. Again, I could have chosen something like a predator, that we know, like a lion or tiger. But I like the feeling of the option to kind of stand on its hind legs, at the same time able to kind of grab things with their hands. What is your body type, Jotun? Or do you have a comment towards mine?
It's a good all-rounder one. Although I do feel that you have a bit of a bias towards the humanoid.
I might.
because of those good old opposable thumbs, I'm guessing. But it's a good every man's build.
I feel so attacked. I agree. Okay, so what's your body type?
My body type is a bipedal arachnoid.
Ooh, that's a good one. I thought you were going to go something along that line, or squid person, based on our previous talks.
So it's a bipedal arachnoid because bipedalism gives you a great amount of speed, and just the sheer amount of limbs is something to be to be cautious of. And just the fact that I said like an arachnoid or an arachnid gives me plausibility with regards to the whole like family of arachnids, instead of saying like a bipedal spider or a bipedal scorpion or something like that. And it also doesn't box me in enough. So it also gives our listeners a bit of wiggle room in their imaginations for exactly what kind of arachnid they want us to have a bias towards.
So yeah, it's a very good option, and probably one of the better predators, because I have read somewhere that if insects were like the size of humans or the size of animals, like our normal animals, they will be the dominant species basically of our planet Earth. That's crazy to think, eh?
Yeah, dude.
Just imagine a spider the size of a dog. Oh my gosh, I'll be crapping my pants. Okay, I think that we've sufficiently given our beasts a body. Now we are mixing and stirring the chemicals that we have, and we said, hey, these are the attributes that we want to go for. But before we get to buffs, we discussed it before. We will start with a debuff. So, since I've given the body, I will start off with Jotun's debuffs for my creature. So again, body type is a ape. I'm gonna roll my virtual dice in my setup to roll from 1 to 5, and then from that number, Jotun's gonna read the corresponding number on his debuff list to my creature. Let's hope that it goes well. It is a 1. Tell me what you have decided to employ into my creature.
Okay, so your first debuff is that your creature tastes with their feet like a fly.
Man, why? What made you think of that one?
So your creature has to traverse the environment, tasting the ground with its feet.
Ugh.
So basically, the mechanical eating process of eating brings them no pleasure. They have to constantly taste with their feet while they are eating.
You have one sick as mine. I did not think that would happen like that. That is so clever. I can just imagine putting vinegar all over the floor or something really disgusting. They're busy walking through and vomiting on the floor, that kind of thing.
So how much of a handicap would that be if you as the prey know that that's how the predator eats?
Jeez. And also all the crap, where it stays and lives, it's just going to consistently move around. Okay.
So basically, you have a super hygienic predator.
I like it. Okay. So my first buff that I'm adding to my creature is extremely high birth rate. So a birth rate like a bunny, that they can just if you put two of the same species, a male and a female, into the same box, they're just gonna like that box is gonna be completely full by the time of the end of the day, because buddies have an extremely high reproductive rate. So basically, I'm employing that buff into my creature. So this creature is gonna expand and grow quite quickly if it has a male and female next to it. So, but it's gonna have a tough time because it's gonna be tasting its lover almost every single time it touches it. So it's gonna be a very awkward sensation or a weird erotic situation. I don't know. I'm feeling weirded out by my creature.
I will give you one nicety. So it doesn't have to apply to the hands as well.
But still, like, you're gonna be tasting your mate, and it's gonna be pretty weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll your dice, Jotun. Let me describe
Oh,
my debuff for you. Let's
man,
make it interesting.
I don't like playing dice with fate over here. Hey?
We're genetic mad scientists, so you have to.
Okay. I got a 4.
Oh, you got 4. Perfect. Okay, so you started off with a strong one. Your creature has a deep fear of water. So any form of water, whether it rain on the floor or simply in a bottle. So in a bottle, I would say it's not as fearful, but any signs of water that it can touch, it is a deep fear of it. It just does not want to deal with water. So think of an overly afraid cat. If it comes across a water on the floor, it's going to intentionally walk around that. It's going to try its very best to avoid water. It has a deep fear of water.
So including psychological things as like genetic traits.
Yeah, like you see, like the cats and stuff, they generally don't associate themselves with water besides drinking it. And this is the same kind of case where your creature is a trait. It's not a big fan of water. It's kind of avoids water.
So it's an aversion of water.
Yes. So it doesn't like water. So like tigers, they swim. They can do it. They don't mind it. But
water doesn't actually harm them. It's just my people avoid it like the plague.
Yes. So if it's raining outside, they're gonna stay inside. They're not keen to going outside.
Okay. That's a pretty shitty thing, dude. Like, how are you gonna avoid the rain?
Plans.
Weather systems. Okay. Okay, I do think that my creature can counter that. Do I have to say the first one of mine, or can I say freely choose
any one of your list? Freely choose from your list.
A big counter to that will be that my creature has dragonfly wings, so it can fly over the ocean and lakes and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so smart.
The reason why I chose dragonfly wings is because dragonflies are actually the apex aerial predator that exists in the animal kingdom. They can they can roll, and they can yaw, and they can go in literally just 360, but like all directions. Like 360 is just a circle, but they can go into like all directions of a sphere, and they can instantly pick up speed and instantly stop as well.
Arachnoid with dragonfly wings is probably the scariest thing I can put into my mind. That is terrifying.
There's more coming, my friend. There's more coming.
Oh, that is terrifying. Okay. Yeah, that's a very strong creature. I like that. Okay. Give me a beat debuff. I'm gambling with fate here.
Okay.
Let me roll, because I have to give you a number. 5.
Okay. This is not going to make you very happy, because it makes your tasting situation even worse.
Oh,
okay.
No. Stop touching my taste buds.
Your creature eats its food by swallowing it whole like a snake.
I thought of that one as well as a debuff, but I didn't decide to go with it.
And that entails the absolute laziness and the slowness that will come from having an entire meal in your stomach as well. So even if I throw you a bit of a bone here and suggest that something like the size of an antelope can be digested in the same amount of time as a snake would digest its food, that's still like at least a day or 2 days. So
Now, do I swallow it alive or do I swallow it after I kill it?
I mean, it's your choice, man. Live and wriggling or dead and still, it doesn't matter to me.
I like it when it struggles my stomach.
I like to feel it suffer. But now the reason why I chose that as a debuff is because apart from the fact that it just looks stupid, your creature will barely be able to move, or it'll only be able to move, let's say at like 30% its speed, for a period of however long the digestion takes. And during that time, it will be vulnerable towards counterattacks or something.
Jeez, that is.
And so
very
just think
clever.
of how much trouble that will cause for even interspecies or intraspecies power struggles between like a dominant male and lesser ones. Like the dominant male can't not eat forever. Like it's gonna be vulnerable at some stage. So interesting, man. Interesting social life that these creatures have.
Yeah, it's going to be tasting everything it touches and it swallows everything, and it's got a really high birth rate, so it's going to be doing a lot of woohoo times next to its very chubby mate. Okay. Let me give a genetic modification to this.
Dude, imagine just like being pregnant and having to eat such like massive things.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is
I'm
going to be
sorry.
a massive...
I'm sorry to all the women listeners out there. I'm sorry that I'm creating such difficult birthing situations for you. Like you guys go through enough as it is.
Okay, so I'm going to add a trait of paralysis pheromones. So we all the animal kingdom all bases on pheromones. We humans, we spray ourselves with Axe and all that, different deodorants and perfumes. So this is a pheromone that the skin of this creature naturally excretes. So from its sweat and that kind of thing. In a, obviously not too far, but in a radius, if you are nearby, you would start feeling a numb sensation. And if you were to inhale this pheromone for too long of a period of time, you would kind of fall to the floor or be stuck in place. So this is paralysis pheromone. So if you were to go in this area, you probably would. I can concede the fact that you probably would be able to smell a difference or smell something. But if you were to expose yourself to this paralysis thing, it would eventually make you stuck in place. So it would be ideal because then I could paralyze the predator's prey, and with its very large stomach and kind of crawl towards it needs to go, it could eventually grab the creature, kill it, or decide to swallow it whole because it would probably be paralyzed in the stomach. So yeah, that's the buff that I decided to go with.
There goes the joyride of having a live and wriggling thing in your tummy, eh? Damn, they have no fun, your creatures.
Oh, trust me, he's lazy. He's a lazy bugger. Okay, roll your debuff. Or unless you don't want to, unless you want to stick with
but just explain a little bit more to me about that. So, is it a passive pheromone? Because I don't think we can say both passive and acute or active.
No. So it's definitely passive. So it's something that they naturally excrete. So their species would be immune to it, because the male and female.
But I mean, it can't like squirt the pheromones out.
No,
okay,
not squirt. So it'll be in a certain area. So if you were to go there with a gas mask, you'll be fine.
Okay.
But if you were to go into their domain and you would smell something, you would feel a slight sensation. Like that's what I say. It starts small, slight sensation, and then the longer you're in there, you're just completely stuck, and now you're done.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that if I just bathe your creature, then I can go close to it.
Yes,
hunt Mackie's creatures in the rain. That's basically what I'm hearing.
You could do that, yeah, 100%. If you're smart enough.
Okay, my turn. Let me see what crap you're throwing my way. 5, also a 5.
Your creature has rounded teeth. So instead of having sharp teeth to bite and tear things apart, which you have rounded teeth. So you generally gnaw on the item until it becomes how to say, it's broken down enough that you can kind of kind of like break you take a long time to chew to really break it apart.
To
So it's
grind it.
rounded teeth. Yes, you grind like a herbivore. Probably the worst thing to add to a predator is you have flat teeth,
Okay, but
flat rounded teeth.
do you think an arachnid would have teeth? Are
It
we
does
going to
now.
say, okay, so now my arachnid doesn't have pincers. It has like,
A mouth with teeth. We're making a small creation here.
so what I'm suggesting to you now is basically, you know how a drill, no, not a drill. So basically, instead of a knife now attacking the meat and slicing the meat for the teeth, it's got like a meat hammer, a meat pounder.
Yeah,
Those things.
it's got stumps. Yeah, it's got stumps.
Okay, that's a mean one, but I think I can live with that.
Yeah, your mouth is basically very passive, so it takes you longer to chew things, break things apart with your mouth. You could break it with your hands, and it's not a major debuff, but it's still there.
Yeah.
It's an inconvenience.
Okay, so before I go further, does the body type count as an attribute or not?
In certain ways, yes, but not exactly. So if you have an arachnid body type, it doesn't mean it automatically shoots web out of its butt.
Okay.
But since it's got an arachnid body, it probably could
Because
climb walls because it's got.
Because I said my body type as an attribute.
Yeah, but you could still climb walls because you got the number of legs and sharp.
Yeah,
feet.
but I mean it's on my list of 5. Was it meant?
Oh, as an attribute.
Yeah.
You can add it as an attribute, or you can choose a different one.
Okay, so I'm going to choose a different one now that isn't now on my list, but I actually wanted to add.
That's fine.
And it has to do with the dragonfly as well. And that's the incredibly complex eyes of a dragonfly, which I think work independently. I'm not entirely sure, but they see an incredibly wide spectrum of the color waves. And yeah, clearly their eyes function perfectly for the type of way that they hunt, which is incredibly fast and has incredible depth perception as well. And for that reason, I think that is why, yeah, their eyes see the world in ultra multicolored spectrum. Yeah.
Pretty damn scary because ours can fly.
As a minimum, they have 11 different color receptor cells in their eyes, where we only have 3. And yeah.
Okay. Before we go any further, I just want to inquire. So we didn't describe this part of the body, but how big is your creature? Is it like, say?
Oh yes, that is actually part of body type, isn't it?
That should be included. I forgot about it completely. So we're adding it here to add the terrifying part. How big is your creature? Is it like the size of a car? Is it, because we can't be too excessive? I feel like we can't. Well, we could do that, but what would you say? What is the size of your creature? What's in your mind at the moment?
What's the class of creatures from like the Ice Age? Is that macrofauna?
Yes, I think so.
So basically, my creature is one of those. It's a macrofauna thing. But I think the technical definition of a macrofauna is something like its body size is between like 50 kgs and up, or like 50 kgs and up. I think that's technically a macrofauna.
And I feel like that's the size of my creature as well. So I think we both are on the same kind of page then. As well as our audience now, which they probably were a little bit confused on why was Jotun picking out this dragonfly the size of their, which I had in my mind already pictured as this giant ass spider flying now with these eyes. Okay.
I don't think that's quite the right word for the Ice Age things though. But I think my one would be about 150 to 200 kgs when fully grown.
Oh wow, that's heavy. Wow, that's massive.
It's like 1.5 of a person. It's not too big.
Yeah, I think so.
Including wings and legs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It just sounds massive to you because you're thinking 200 kg man. which is a bit of a problem.
A 200 kg man is still pretty damn big. But okay. I rolled a 2 on my debuff scale. Give me my 2. Unless I already rolled 2.
No, you haven't. Okay, so your number 2. That is your creature. Your creature is compelled to do the weasel hunting dance right before attacking.
Ah, you son of a fluffin'. How does it... Wait, so just to clarify, is it dancing in front of the prey? Or is it dancing once it sees it and kind of alerting its feather friends to come help it with the fight?
So like, you stalk your creature, and then right before you attack it, you do the dance.
That's such a scuff move that you've done. Oh my gosh. My creature's basically doing like a loud ass dance before it engages
it's just
combat.
Like decides that it has to serve give it the hardest serve of a dance battle right before it attacks.
But what makes this even better? Sorry, this is going to be funny. So my prey is most likely going to be paralyzed by the time my creature comes to it, sees it, and this prey, now assume it's human, is now stuck in place, just watching this happen. Having seen this creature now randomly dance in front of it before it engages in the battle. So don't get me wrong, I think it does give more time for the creature's friends to come, the prey's friends to come find and help. But I feel like this is like the ultimate taunt. To say, haha, now I've got you, now you're going to be my food, I'm going to swallow you whole.
So I think there are 2 ways that this can go. I think that's within your ape predators like species. It'll be a kind of ranking system based on how close you can get to, or like a rite of passage, how close you can get to a specific kind of prey. Because and it can be a hunting tactic, if you can just get close enough to your prey, then the war dance will actually spread your pheromones around enough so that it can paralyze it without you actually having to pounce on it or anything. But if it's something that can't be approached too closely, or how awesome the breakdance is, then it's a problem because you give away your position every time. And based on how prey animals are, they are generally much quicker than predators, or they're much more vigilant of their surroundings and presence than predators are. Because predators, we look ahead. At prey, they look left and right, or their eyes are more towards the sides. So, I mean, this one's a bit of a gamble, you know. It can be a good thing or a bad thing. It can help spread the pheromones, or it can give away your position.
I like it. Okay, so my pro to make my creature a little bit more deadly is to include razor claws. So think of the claws from Alien. That is now replaced the stubby fingers of an ape. And now we have these like razor claws that can slash things quite cleanly and effectively, but it can also be used to kind of like climb things. So now picture a forest environment. These claws will be able to like dig into the tree, and you'll be able to like climb and lift yourself up, even if it's like a flat surface. I want to say it worked on concrete, but I don't want to say that in that way. So I don't think it's that razor sharp.
I think it'll be good if we base this on like biology. So we can't say you've got adamantium claws.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So but you can plausibly, like, any kind of actual bone or claw structure that you can prove to me, because that's quite important.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like bear claws. So not necessarily the bare hands, but the claws of the bear. So have the slashing power. So I can concede the fact that you can't climb with it, but I think having those claws on, like, say, the top of the hand, so maybe where the knuckles are, so that could be like a slashing kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but then you can climb things that are more porous than it then.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Okay, sweet.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so my creature's looking pretty deadly, slow, fat, deadly.
Slow, fat, incredibly fit to be breakdancing all the time.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so what is, do you want to gamble or are you satisfied with your Dragonfly?
No, I'm gambling.
Okay, what's your number?
I've got a lot of great stuff lined up here. Okay, so I rolled a 1.
Oh, your creature has an extremely high metabolism. So, in contrast to the swallow the creature whole and it stays in my stomach for quite a long time, your creature has an extremely high metabolism, meaning that it needs to eat and it needs to eat almost consistently. Meaning that if it's not eating, its body is then resorting to eating its muscle mass. So, this creature is hungry.
No, I understand that, but there has to be a level of plausibility to it. So, like, to be constantly eating, the reason why stuff like cows have to constantly eat is just because grass is so energy deficient. But
Yes.
granted, my creature is a predator, it's eating the most calorie dense thing on Earth. So I don't think we can say like eat more than let's say 2 or 3 times a day, because no predator alive now needs to
Does
eat that
that.
often.
No, I was thinking more like once a day. So you have to eat like at least once a day,
Yeah.
or you'll face detriment to your muscle mass. So if the creature eats one meal, say like the size of a deer, it will be satisfied for the day. But if it misses a meal the next day, it's going to feel weaker. Next day, it's
Okay.
going to feel even more weak.
Okay.
Next day, it's going to see some muscle mass loss, so it's going to be weaker.
Okay. So that does make sense. Like insects, I actually think one of the reasons why insects don't grow as big as us is precisely for that fact, is that there isn't enough energy to sustain them. So yeah, okay. So then the debuff is that if it can't get its next meal, then it literally starts to die slowly.
It eats itself, yeah, basically. Like how humans do. If you're not eating, your muscle mass will drop. So I feel like once it finally sees prey, it's going to find it harder to take down because now it's not as strong as it would be if it would have eaten, basically.
Okay.
Its muscle mass would be less.
Okay. So my buff now is that my creature has cephalopod sense organs, because you know that there was going to be something squiddy about this creature. You know
I was
it.
waiting for it, to be honest. I was waiting for it.
So basically, it has the type of cells which are chromatophores, and so like basically, even though it's an insect, its chitin or its carapace is made of the same stuff that the skin of an octopus is made up of. Now, for anybody that hasn't listened to one of our previous episodes about squids and octopodes taking down underwater bases, the skin of an octopus has cells that can basically detect the color that's around it, and it has cells that can also change the texture of the skin itself to also mimic its surroundings. Yeah.
Strong one. That's a very good one. So just to clarify, does that mean that it also needs to be hydrated? Or because obviously an octopus needs to be hydrated?
I don't think so. I don't think that is a dependent feature of that cell type. I think that
so.
Just so happens that octopodes do that. So like the only difference between this creature now and a chameleon, for example, is that it's a specific way in which those chromatophores work inside of an octopus.
Okay. I can see that working. I do have a little concern about its lubricant skin. Like keep its skin lubricant.
It's lubrication.
Yeah.
But so the reason also why I chose the dragonfly eyes was because octopus eyes are actually crap. They can only see in black and white. So people don't know this, but octopodes all the color sensing that they have is purely from their skin. Their eyes can only see in black and white.
Jeez. Okay, I
The
can see
more
that.
you know.
I still think one detriment to your creature so far, it doesn't have an effective means of attacking. It's able to find its prey and hide now. But I'm interested to see. Maybe you have
There
you
are
want
2
to
more
gamble
traits,
another
my
debuff.
friend. There
Yeah,
are
maybe
2
you want
more
to
traits.
gamble them. Okay, so now we're getting to the end. I'm going to go for one more debuff. Depending, maybe I feel confident enough. So now with our 2 random items left on our list, I'm going to change my dice from a 5-sided dice to a 2-sided die. And I'm going to let it go from 1 to 2. It is a 1. So give me 1 on your list.
Okay, so we already got a 1 for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, I'm going to take the 2 that we haven't chosen yet, and I
Yeah.
will give them new numbers.
Okay. So what's the one of the new
They are pretty
numbers?
bad.
Okay, so
Okay.
just give me 1.
So your creature exclusively has gills.
Oh.
So it doesn't have lungs, it has gills.
Oh. Okay. That makes things complicated.
How much of a crippling factor is this now?
That basically mutes my pheromone thing. Besides if it like finds a pond and it's stuck in the pond. Oh boy.
So you've oh geez, my last 2 things are actually really bad for you. I'm so sorry.
No, that's from the gamble. Jeez, you really just muted my creature's pheromones thing. So basically, it could still like secrete it, but like only if you drink the same water that the creature's living in. But it would be heavily diluted if, say, it was an ocean-based creature. Okay. Are we saying fresh water or seawater?
For the purpose of this, I will let you change your pheromone thing into an active ability and not a passive ability.
So like a spit.
Because if it's or something like that, yeah. Because if it's concentrated enough, then it isn't constantly being diluted.
Yeah, so I'll make it into a bite. So it bites the prey, and then it will be paralyzed as long as you can get close to it. But it has to do a funky dance in the water. This is going to be one interesting prey. Okay, so I can deal with it. Okay, so I'm going to assume my creature is going to be a sea-based creature, not a freshwater creature. Then this actually makes sense that I do camouflage. So I was going to go with chameleon camouflage, because then I would kind of camouflage with like grass and the surroundings a bit better. But seeming now that I'm an ocean-based creature, which makes things a lot more difficult, I am now specifically saying that I have octopus skin, like you just mentioned, that I'm able to camouflage myself to certain colors and that kind of thing. So my creature's a little less noticeable when it is A, digesting food, and B, when it is on the hunt.
Okay.
There's my pro. Damn, man. You really hit me hard with that one.
So how does your creature do the camouflage though? I will let you do it in the same way as my one, if you can repeat to me how it was done.
Oh heck no, I'm not gonna repeat it like that. That was not part of the rules. I'm the host of this episode. There's no distinct rules. They didn't say that. No, so it definitely uses the same basis where I won't say the exact wording, but the process behind it, where if it were to blend with the colors that are currently around it, so it would its skin would be able to kind of react if there's like grays and blacks and browns. Its skin would be able to kind of not necessarily copy it exactly, but it would be able to replicate it, and wouldn't be able to do nearly as good of a job if it was in the move. So it kind of would wait for the prey to get closer to it and then pounce rather than move with it. So it won't move and be camouflaged. So like the Predator.
Definitely not. Even Predator from the Predator movies, well, you could see it's like weird shimmer or something while it was in the movie.
Yeah. So if it were to move, it would like mute its color completely and go to distinct color of the body, which we have not decided. Okay, so cool. Are you gambling again?
Yes, I'm gambling.
My ones are also harsh. Okay. I'm assigning numbers. Okay, you free to go. 1 and 2. What did you get?
1.
Oh. Okay, so not only is the creature highly disliking of water, it is vulnerable to UV light. So its skin is now vulnerable to UV light. It will get sunburnt a lot quicker than it. So it's not like in Dying Light where the creature would physically go on the floor and die completely, but it gets very burnt if it's out in natural light too long. If it were to be in the desert, your creature would probably shrivel and die. That's the kind of thing. So it's able to stay in the sunlight for a bit, but it hurts, it burns, and too long of exposure will get to the point of cripple pain.
So wait, is there UV light at nighttime as well?
No. So your creature will basically be night hunters or hunting in dark and shaded areas. So it wouldn't come out during the daylight. So your creature is afraid of rain and exclusively tries to hunt in dark and night places.
Okay. Interesting. So my guy can also has trichobothria. Now, trichobothria are the little hairs that are on the side of spiders' surfaces, which is the real reason why they are so attuned to movement on their spider web, and why they can literally feel your presence basically from the other side of the room. Now, on a creature as large as mine, it would literally mean that it can feel disturbances that are big enough at the edge of our atmosphere, the Earth's atmosphere. And this is the reason why Spidey, from like Spider-Man, is actually so OP, because a Spidey sense can determine anything that's coming towards him that is a danger as well. And that's why he can basically see the future when he's fighting, because he can pick up on all those small things.
I don't think your creature will be able to do that extreme.
No, not that extreme. But he'd be able to pick up the movements of his prey to an extremely detailed way, so that his dragonfly wings can get him in there and attack.
I really want to know, how does your creature currently attack?
We'll get there.
So you're going for another gamble. Okay, that's interesting. Look, we're getting close to the episode, so we only have one more buff and debuff to gamble with. Or no, did we not decide that the last debuff will be muted and we'll go for just the buff?
No, you get your last debuff and then it ends on the buff, because we have one debuff and one attribute left.
So my creature is probably your last debuff hit me quite hard. I am afraid to say, okay, screw it, I'm doing this for you, audience. Hit me with a debuff.
Okay.
I was going to say no, but I'm doing this for the audience. Hit me with another debuff. Make my world.
Your creature, like all birds, has hollow bones.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, jeez, I shouldn't have gone for the debuff. That makes things so complicated.
So now your creature can't even swim in the deep oceans. It has to kind of be, let's say, 2 Gs of force. Like or let's say 3 Gs even. That's as much as it can go into the depths before its own bone structure can't handle it. Interesting.
Okay, that makes sense.
That is such a bad combo. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I expected something bad when you said bad. Okay. The pro that I will give it to it now that I know my creature has hollow bones, which has probably significantly reduced its weight. I'm going to give my creature, since it's in the water, it's going to have fins. So it's going to have I'm trying to think of the right word for it. No flying fish, they have those fins. It's going to have the ability it will have to add fins, so it's able to move with water a lot easier, because it is an ape that we're considering. So it's got web hands and feet, but also it's got the fin tail. I'm not sure if we can include that. I don't know if that's an attribute. Would you consider an attribute?
I think so, because you did choose an ape as your body type. So
it would maybe change the legs to a fin tail, like a dolphin tail. I can make that as an attribute. So instead of having legs now, it's still got its arms. So it basically is a mermaid. What I'm basically describing, a very weird mermaid, because it's still got the bare claws on its hands, and this is a mermaid. So I'm basically the attribute I'm giving my creature is mermaid tail, basically. Okay. So it's a dolphin tail.
Okay, adapting to your new situation.
I have to, because that's the only way. You're giving me guilt and making me dance differently. And what else does the cooler dance is having a dolphin tail?
Okay.
Okay. So
hit me with your
what is
best shot.
Funny enough, when you said hollow bones, that is exactly what your creature gets now as well.
Well, I don't know if that actually like has any effect on my creature, because
Basically the legs won't be as sturdy. So
insects are invertebrates, so they don't have a backbone, so they don't have bones.
But I feel like what needs to happen then is that your skeleton is a lot weaker, so it's a little more fragile. So think of a crab whose shell has recently broken apart and is molting. So your skeleton is probably not as weak, but is more say someone with a hammer or baseball bat could hit it one time and it would crack and fracture apart a little bit easier. So similar, but not quite the same. You there, Jotun?
Yeah, no, I'm there. Okay, so what are we going for? Like, what's the spectrum of how hard the carapace is then?
I would say, look, a man with a baseball bat, if he were to hit it, well, what was it before? So if a male with a baseball bat were to hit your
so I think it would have been. I think before it was about the hardness of a turtle shell, because we're taking the size of an arachnid, which is normally really small. Yeah. And scaling it up, which means that the thickness would also scale up.
So let's say the thickness is a lot thinner. So let's compare it. To plywood. So plywood.
Yeah,
you know,
I was also thinking that plywood, whereas in the beginning it was like oak. Or something.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're on the same brainwaves. Okay.
So now my creature can't tackle stuff.
Basically, it can, but it's going to suffer a limb or two.
Yeah. So I do think that we have to make an exception for the attack method, which is, and it's a pretty big exception because it's a pretty hectic attack method, and that is that it has pistol shrimp claws.
Okay, yeah, we can
which
say
is
that
like purely momentum based that it does that stuff. So it has to be able to take that knock. So it just it took all of the speckage and put just min-maxed into the claws, put all the specs into the claws, and that's why it's got plywood for the rest of the body.
So, okay, yeah, I can agree with that. That works. I knew the claws are gonna come in some way. I knew you love those pistol shrimp claws.
So the attacks that my one can do is it can punch enemies, and I think that it would have basically sonic booms as an attack method as well, because it's not completely surrounded by water like pistol shrimps are, and it's specifically being in water that I think allows them to have plasma come from their punches, because they superheat the water around them enough so that it becomes literally the temperature of the sun, even though it's a really small area. So basically, I don't have water around me to superheat like that, but I can make a sonic boom with those forces.
I don't think you want to be boasting on that. So I love the idea because your creature will be flying around very quickly and maneuver very well and be able to find its prey. But every punch it does will probably crack its shell, because a sonic boom doesn't mean that it goes in one direction. It affects the whole surrounding. So each one of these punches is going to deafen pretty much everyone that's close by, as well put a lot of impact force. So if your creature's claws are able to robust this, its body is going to suffer. So I guess that's part of the debuff, eh? You're just going to suffer after each punch. So it's only going to do a few punches.
So. Isn't even a sonic boom like when you crack a whip? That's already a sonic boom.
But if you've seen in Air Force, they can't produce a sonic boom too close to the ground, because that force, that noise of the force, just fractures almost all windows and everything around it. So if you were to experience that up close, because now this is a punch coming up close. No, don't get me wrong. You're going to eliminate that creature, whatever in front of you is, with one punch. Just like Saitama from One Punch Man. However, you yourself need to be able to withstand that force. So Newton's third law comes into effect.
Yeah, but we just put all the specs into the claws, though.
Yeah, your claws will be fine, but the body's going to be suffering a bit. So basically, your creature's going to do like one amazing punch, and it's going to need a long recovery time. Basically, what I'm saying, not like a super long. I'm not saying like weeks. I'm just saying that maybe after one punch, it's just gonna, because of its body not being able to keep up with its massive or its powerful claws, it's just going to be a bit of a lag behind. It's not going to be doing punch, 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 punch. It's going to be one punch and it's going to go, and it's going to need some recovery time. If you're going scientific.
That's all I need to take out my prey.
Yeah,
but I disagree. I don't think that the sonic boom would actually have any effect on the prey apart from disorienting it enough to be even more vulnerable. The main attack vector for this predator is the force of the punch.
Yeah, which I can agree with. Okay, audience, that is all the time we can give to this slightly longer than normal episode. We have some amazing creatures. Before we end, Jotun, have you thought of a name for your creature?
Jeez.
I'll give my one, and so I'll try to drag this as long as possible. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so since my creature is now a mermaid, basically, I would call it the Serpent of the Sea. Basically, because it swallows its victims whole, it's able to swim, it dances in front of its prey, it has paralytic bite, it has claws, bare claws on its hands, so it's able to slash you up pretty badly. It's also got camouflage, so I think Serpent of the Sea, like makes sense. Like this thing is, I'm aware that it has fragile bones. It's pretty much stuck to the surface of the water. But the Serpent of the Sea, if you see this creature up and close, you're probably gonna have a bad time.
So Mackey's one is a sea worm, basically, but like the Norse way of spelling worm with a Y, because that's like dragon. Yeah, it's badass.
I like it. Thanks, I like it. And your one, Jotun, have you? We stumped them, audience. Okay, while he thinks of things, I'm going to start with the outro with how audience can find Ramble Shamble, and then you can give me after that. How's that?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so audience, while Jotun's still busy thinking about it, again, guys, we post this podcast on every episode. We do appreciate listening to this episode so far. We still have a little bit of an end bit, but we'll get to it now. But giving Jotun as much time as physically possible, you probably muted me. Again, we post these episodes on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, as well as YouTube. We try to post this on Rumble as well because we want to reach out as far as wide as possible. But the best way for our podcast and our community to grow is for you to share it with your friends and family. There's plenty of episodes for different topics and different ideas, and we try to post on almost every Thursday. We also have a gaming channel called Ramble Shamble. We try to post there as often as we can, but it's not going to be as dedicated as our Ramble Shamble. But again, guys, we also appreciate your comments because those comments form part of our Ramble Shrapnel. Ramble Shrapnel is all the little bits and pieces of our main episodes of Ramble Shamble. And it's a way for you, the audience, to get shout-outs and to also share out your ideas based on the question that we have in this episode, which I shall reveal after Jotun has discussed or described the name of his creature, which I'm hoping is going to terrify the socks off me and you as well. But Jotun, I think we gain there. Yes. My
creature's name is a Dracorak.
So that's so cool.
It's because like the original Greek word for a dragon, dragonfly, or from which dragonfly comes is Draco, but then the word for an arachnid is an arachnid. So it's a drac like Draco, and then arak like arachnid. So it's a Dracorak.
That's actually pretty cool.
And it's just super fun to say. A Dracorak.
Yeah, a Dracorak. So, but audience, here's your question for this episode. Which of these two predators that we have just described, with the pros and cons, which we may include in the description of this episode, but we'll rely on you guys to be dedicated listeners to this episode, and decide which is the better predator. Which would you fear if you were to go out during the night, or take a deep swim in the sea, hopefully. but I think that's where we can say which of the creatures did there. And
Oh no, wait. It's actually a shallow swim in the ocean, not a deep one.
Boom. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is like a swim in the ocean. But nonetheless, Jotun, anything from your side before we conclude this episode?
Thank you so much for this topic. It was so fun. Like, that's all I can say.
We definitely have to touch on it again. So yes, so audience, again, we post this on every Thursday. We're glad that you came to enjoy us. And we hope you guys come listen to our next episode.
And for the Ramble Shrapnel that's going to be linked to this episode, please tell us who you think was better, or whose creature you think was better, and just like 5 words for each attribute. Give us your favorite predator creature. Maybe we'll choose your predator and talk about that for the Ramble Shrapnel.
Brilliant. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye, audience.
Bye-bye, everyone.